All right, everyone. Well, momentum is definitely continuing. This morning, we had several stocks that squeezed up over 100%. The leading percentage gainer today went up 500%, which was wild. The thing about it that was a little tricky for me was that it started at like 15, 20 cents a share. So it squeezed up to just under $1, but that price range is not usually my sweet spot. I do feel some FOMO that I didn't trade it though, because I saw it pop up and I was like, maybe I should, but I was like, it's 20 cents. That really is pretty cheap. I mean, I've been dabbling in some of the lower price stocks in the last month. I've had a couple trades on stocks in the 45 to 55 cent range, as they're kind of making their way up towards 75 cents or near $1. But down all the way down to 20 cents. I don't know. I looked at it and I was like, I don't think so. And the problem with that one was that the 200 moving average was like right at 55 cents. But man, it broke through that level and it squeezed. So we'll definitely talk about that trade today. And in fact, I'm green on 2, 4, 6, 7. Looks like 7 out of the 7 stocks I traded. So accuracy today, 100% based on being green on all the stocks I traded. Of course, I did have some losers in there, but my trading today was much more moderate than it was yesterday. Yesterday, I kind of had that roller coaster where I was up 21,000, then 17,000, then 28,000, then 24,000, then 35,000, then 27,000. I finished right at 30 grand. So today, sitting at $13,469.51. Man, this market is really impressing me. I just didn't expect it. In fact, there were some points last year where I was just wondering when things were going to pick back up. And last year, I showed up every single day and it was just cold. In fact, if we look at last year, so right now, year to date gross profit, I'm sitting at $653,000. You want to know where I was at last year? So, well, we can pull it up here. Let's go to overview. We'll kick this out and then we'll do last year. So last year was a really slow year for me. I came in every single day, gross profit, $389,000. I am on track to double what I did last year. Now, those of you who are around during the pandemic, you know that I had a couple of incredible years. 2020 and 2021 were my absolute highest performing years ever. 2020 was just crazy. And then 2021 with GameStop at the beginning of the year, my best day of all time, that was wild. And I didn't really expect that was going to continue. But when it slowed down in 2023, I was really kind of just sitting here feeling like I had to submit to the market. I mean, we were not getting big moves and I just had to be content with chipping away at these base hits. So just in the last really month, I've been really impressed at the momentum. So let's see, this is my calendar for year to date right here. So I had a great month of February and then it got a little slow in March, April, May, June, and then boom, July. Unbelievable. Crazy good month. 232,000 gross profit. Right now sitting at 104,000 in August plus the 13 from today. That's going to put me at $120,000 in August. Typically, August is not one of my best months of the year, but well, right now it's the third best and I'm in good shape to make it my second best. All I've got to do is make another 10,000. And let's see, where are we sitting on the month? If we pull up our calendar, we've got, 8 days left, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I just do $2,000 a day for these next 8 days, I'm going to make this my second best month of the year. I don't expect it's going to be beating July. In order to beat July, I'm going to need to make another $100,000. So I guess it's possible. Like in July, I could have 2 back-to-back days where, let's see, I was up 45,000 and 42,000. It's possible, but I'm not going to set the bar that high. In fact, I'm really just grateful to be, doing as well as I'm doing and focusing on consistency. So when we look at the P&L from today, this is kind of an interesting story because when I sat down this morning, the first thing I noticed was that we already had a couple of stocks that were squeezing, but I wasn't in love with them. So TGL, this was our leading gapper this morning, early pre-market. It popped up, as you can see right here, after hours and then at 4 a.m. It pops up to 259. It pulls back a little bit. And by 7 a.m., well, it's below VWAP. It just didn't it didn't look good for a trade in that area. And so you'll see I didn't end up trading TGL. Now, it did end up squeezing at the open, halting up 3 times in a row before halting down a couple times. And well, now it's kind of unwinding. It's back down at $1.40. I mean, I guess it's still up 146%, but it never retested the pre-market high. And so for that reason, it didn't really give me a good setup to take a trade. So that one was a no-go. We had TTNP, which I did end up trading, but this one squeezed up after hours as well. And the challenge with this one was that the news headline is a merger. And usually I don't love trading mergers. You can see it broke VWAP right here at like 6:30. It sold off, and then it squeezes up right at the open through VWAP up to 11. It pulls back, and then it surges through a second time and goes from 11 all the way to nearly $15 a share, which was really impressive. But let's go back to my first trade of the day. Okay, so first trade of the day at 7 a.m., it was on AUUD. So AUUD at 7 a.m., it was actually 6:55. This thing starts spiking, and I look at it and I'm like, okay, it's not a biotech company. What's the headline? Announces launch of the something 3.1 with new AI functionality. And I was like, I don't know about this. This feels like it's off theme. What was really strong yesterday were these small cap biotech stocks. And I kind of thought that was going to continue today. So when this first starts popping up, I'll show you on the 10-second chart. It was kind of wild because it pops up and it first hits like $1.50. It squeezes up, goes to goes all the way to $2 right here, and then drops down to 160. So it's like boom, boom. And I thought, whoa, this thing is super volatile. It then dips down to $1.50. It pops back up to 210 right here, and then rejects back to 170. And in that area, it was weird because we were seeing these like 15, 20,000 share sellers on the level 2. It was just trading strange, and it had high volume on those red candles. So I thought, I don't know, this doesn't feel safe. And then all of a sudden it squeezes right up here, and I'm like, oh shoot. All right, well, here we go. So I jumped in at 226 and added at 235 and 240, and it squeezes here up to 250, hits a high of 240 actually, pulls back, and then it pops up here on this little pullback. It goes up to 250. It pushes a little higher up to 260, 270. And through that range, I'm actively trading it. I'm buying, I'm selling, I'm adding back, looking for the break higher. And it looks like my best exit was at 282. So it ends up going, let's see, what was the high here? 278. So it pulled back, and then it came up right here to 295. So that was my best exit when it rallied back up. And that rally actually gave us a 1-minute pullback here off of 220, and then all the way back up towards 3. But it didn't hold that level. It rejected 3, and then at that point, it just started to kind of unwind. I saw some traders watching it for a first 5-minute candle to make a new high right here, but the problem is there were just too many sellers, so I didn't take that trade. So I ended up on my very first trade on it. First trade, I break the ice. I made $1,000. Awesome. All right, so now I've got my first $1,000 cushion. Second trade, I made $1,500. So now I'm up $2,500. Third trade made $500. So I make $3,000 of profit on AUUD, and I'm thinking, this is great. This is a good start to the day. The next stock that comes up is BCFC. BCFC hits my scanner, and the second it hits my scanner, I pull it up and I press Shift 1. I immediately bought. Why did I buy? Well, I saw it spiking. I saw that the float was less than 1 million shares, and I thought, all right, this is the type of stock that I should pay attention to. So I jumped in before I saw the news. I get in around $1.59. It ends up hitting $1.75, and then I realized, wait a second, this is a foods company. It's not biotech. And I was like, I don't know. I didn't see a headline. Now, funny enough, they ended up putting out news at 8:15, but that was after this first spike. So that was a little weird. So anyways, I got in and immediately got out. I was like, you know what? I'm not trusting this. So ended up being a small winner, $262. All right, so whatever. Small winner. Now I'm up $3,200 on the day. Next trade, EVOK. Now this was wild. So in the interim, IRM or IRN? IRN. IMN. What was it? Now I can't remember. INM? Yeah, INM pops up, and this is the one that goes up at 20 cents. So it comes up here from 20 cents a share. It goes up, and I see it at 25 cents, and I was like, I don't know. It's a little cheap. It goes to 30 to 35. I was like, well, I can't chase it now. It goes up to 40 to 45 to 50. And right in here, I'm like, okay, 200 EMA is like right around here. Taps the 200, it pulls back, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably done. And then all of a sudden, boom, it breaks 55 and squeezes all the way up to 95 cents. I should have taken that trade, and I should have bought this pullback, but at that point, I felt like I was chasing it. So I missed that whole move, and that was the cleanest, biggest move of the day, 500%. Absolutely unbelievable. And, so this is a pharmaceutical company, and it had news with Alzheimer's. So good catalyst. I should have jumped on it. I'm annoyed with myself that I didn't. So huge move right there. But again, it's now back at 40 cents. So then EVOK, this one actually I saw early pre-market because I saw that it was gapping up, but it didn't really have any volume. So I was like, I don't know. When I saw it around, this morning around whatever, it's like 75, 75, right around there. And it goes up to 8. I pull up the level 2 because someone says in the chat, they're like, I like this for the break of 8. And I pull it up and I was like, okay, I see that. And I see the level 2 is a little spread out. It's 750 by 8. So it's like a 50-cent spread. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure about this. So I end up, I'm not really sure about it. I'm kind of just sitting there. I'm like, is this going to work? And then all of a sudden I see volume come in and I'm like, okay, boom, I'm going to jump in this thing. I press the buy button 3 times, put the limit order to 824. So that was a bit of an offset and I didn't get filled. It jumped over my order and all of a sudden it's printing $8.80, $9. And I was like, oh my goodness, $9 on the ask. And then immediately it's at 10. So now I'm like, all right, holy smokes, this is crazy. This is a huge move. What do I do? It jumps basically from 8 to 10 right here. So I end up buying this dip right here. So right here, I got in at 1050, 1065 actually. It drops down to 880 and I'm like, oh my God, I've made a terrible mistake. And then it rips right back up and goes to almost 12. And I was like, whoa, holy smokes, give me whiplash. So I end up taking my profit. I added at 1065 and 1096 and 1106. It drops. I then take profit as it comes back up. And then through this area, I added back. So now I add back at 1194 for the break of 12. It breaks 12, it goes to 1350. It goes up to 14. I actually added as high as 1430 because I thought this was going to squeeze here through 15. And then it drops, and I stopped out at 1396. Now, it's important when I say stopped out, I sold for a loss with, a limit order on the bid. It wasn't a stop order, it was a limit order. So I stopped out, basically I bailed out, and I got filled at 1394, 1366, and then 1307. I got a little slippage coming back down. It sells off here, and I bought the dip down here at about 1113 and 1148. It bounces up to 13, which was pretty good. And then it sells off some more. So as it sold off some more, I was like, all right, now we're sort of seeing this head and shoulders pattern. This isn't great. And that kind of became the theme for today. And it's kind of unfortunate because we had these big moves, but they didn't hold up. So EVOK didn't hold up. TTNP, well, it's holding up somewhat right now, but it also had this big high and then back down. AUUD, that one obviously didn't hold up. PRFX. This one is another one that I traded, had that big spike from 40 cents to $1.20. Now it's back at 28 cents. So when you start seeing these types of round trips, these are going to give some confidence for short sellers because they're going to say, I just have to short and just keep adding because this will come back down. And that's going to work until it doesn't. ALNZ is the example of the stock, of course, yesterday that it didn't work on, right? ALNZ, it goes up from 3 to 6. and people are like, I'm going to short this. This doesn't make sense that it's up this much. Next thing you know, it's at 8. Then it's all of a sudden at 9. Then it's at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and people are getting squeezed out. So, it goes up 700%. So it can be really tough as a momentum trader to know when to lean in and get aggressive and when we're going to start catching these reversals. But, right now, after some strong moves yesterday, I was expecting that we would see some good action today. And it started nicely with AUUD. That put in a pretty big move from $1.20 all the way up to nearly $3 a share. But then it kind of rolled over. People kind of gave up on it. And then all of a sudden attention shifted to IMN, right? A lot of attention on that one. It's cheaper, made a huge move, but tops out at $1 a share. There was like 300,000 shares on the ask around $1. Tops out, kind of rolls over, coming back down. So then that one starts to roll over. And then, you sort of look at some of these others like, what was it? TGL, that one tried and it couldn't hold up. And now it feels like we're seeing a little bit of a trend here where you're getting some big volatility, but these aren't holding their levels. So that was part of my kind of calculation to reduce share size and slow down and not overstay my welcome. So right now I'm actually sitting at my high of day. I haven't given back profit off this level. I peaked here and I've just been sitting here for the last couple hours. I taught class for Warrior Pro members, and there were a couple stocks that moved while I was teaching class, but whatever, I was teaching class. And now I'm just looking at things and I'm thinking, I don't know, it's not really worth it. I see SOND moving higher, and I know this is one that put in a big move yesterday. But as I look at it today, I'm thinking, what's the catalyst? Why would it break yesterday's high? So it's hard to feel confident in that. IVP, this one had news this morning. It's not biotech, veterinary partners. It pops up and it rejects. So that was kind of the theme this morning. And the fact is, you can make money in that volatility, but you've got to be really diligent about cutting your losses the second it doesn't look good. And so, I had the EVOK. That was kind of my biggest close call because I got in and it all of a sudden drops down to 880. And I actually added on that flush, which was a risky move. And, at that point in the day, I was still feeling confident. And I was like, okay, it just flushed. But so did AUUD early on. It popped up, it flushed, and then it went higher. So I was still like down, but not out. But then after now seeing a couple more moves like that, I wouldn't be so quick to buy those dips. So I think today is a day where maybe we're seeing some FOMO from yesterday. We had such great action yesterday, so traders are quick to jump on things. But the things that they're jumping on aren't really high enough quality in terms of the actual fundamental catalyst to hold the levels that, they're hold the moves that they're making. So they're getting these exaggerated moves, but then buyers get nervous and then shorts get confident and you get that swing back down. And that's one of the reasons that, to that extent, the market is self-correcting, because you start getting these really big moves. What's going to happen? Shorts who missed it are going to be like, I got to short a little earlier next time. I got to go a little earlier, a little earlier, a little earlier. And longs are going to start saying, shoot, I bought too high. I got to be a little careful next time. So you take away some more of those buys, you add some more of the sells, and all of a sudden the move starts getting a little bit smaller, right? And then it can even get to the point where you essentially have news and longs are too nervous to jump in, and then nothing happens. There's no move to the upside and there's no move to the downside because there's nothing to short, and it's just flat. And then that's kind of the extreme. So, and then what will end up happening is all of a sudden we'll have a stock that, has news, but the news is legitimately really good, and boom, it squeezes up. Shorts try to short because they've been used to that, and then they get squeezed out as it pushes higher. And now we're back into this extended, exaggerated cycle. So this is something that happens really all the time in the market. We go through these cycles where we're seeing exaggerated momentum, huge moves that generally get very disconnected from the true value of these companies. And then they sort of self-correct, right? We start having a period where we're seeing more chop. And usually one of the things I notice when it starts to self-correct is, number one, we see more round trips where the stock goes up and then comes all the way back down. And number two, we start seeing more attention on penny stocks. When we start seeing penny stocks popping up, that is often an indicator that this little stretch of momentum is getting a bit overdone. But sometimes we end up staying in the penny stock area for a while. The thing is, I think a lot of short sellers are more cautious about trading a penny stock to the short side, because the most you can make is it goes back to zero. So shorting a stock at 20 cents is kind of dumb in a way because it's so close to zero. Your downside loss is so much higher than your upside potential. Best case scenario, you make 20 cents, it goes to zero. Worst case scenario, 40 cents, 60 cents, $1 a share, you keep adding and adding. And next thing you know, you've got a stock that over the course of 2 days goes from 20 cents a share to $20 and your account's gone. So I think that some of these penny stocks in the beginning of the move just don't have as many short sellers that are jumping on them. So they're kind of a little bit of like a refuge for long bias traders when things start getting a little choppy. Like, all right, well, focus on penny stocks because those at least, people seem to like and they get a nice sort of squeeze and they don't have to make short sellers initially. But, having said that, PRFX, that did pretty much a round trip and it did it pretty quickly on heavy volume. It's kind of remarkable when you think about it. I saw a 400,000 share seller on this. So I don't know. This one ended up coming all the way back down. So, as we go through the rest of the afternoon, of course, for those of you that keep trading, you'll want to watch your high day Momo scanner and you'll want to watch the top gainer scanner and you'll want to watch your high relative volume scanner and to see what has volume in the last 5 minutes. What's leading in terms of relative volume. And you may see some opportunities. There may be something that becomes obvious in the afternoon the way NCNA did yesterday. And this one I actually had on watch this morning as well. My only problem with trading it for continuation was that it wasn't gapping up. It squeezed up in the afternoon and closed up here around like 9. So it was actually gapping down slightly. It looked interesting for continuation, but there were other stocks that were more obvious. And today was one of those days where we kind of had an issue of dispersed attention. I traded 7 different stocks. There were probably 30 different stocks that were relatively volatile and in play today. And I could have traded more of them. So usually I find that when attention is scattered like that, I don't do as well as when there's just one really obvious no-brainer stock. So sitting down with TGL being the leader, but not being clean, that was sort of disappointing. TTNP, I was like, I don't know, it's a merger catalyst. Not sure about that pre-market. And then, next thing you know, and then TGL and TTNP, and then AUUD pops up, but I felt like it was kind of off theme being that it's not a biotech. And ultimately it is back to where it started. So in terms of what gapped up and is holding its gains really nicely right now, TTNP gapped 77% at 111%. TGL was gapping 160, it's at 130. ALLG, but that's slightly higher float. So I don't really see anything. I don't see much that's really held up super well today. So that's kind of a bummer. Now, if we look at the S&P 500, S&P 500 peaked, I guess we peaked this morning, but really incredible move here over the last 2 weeks. Now we're pulling back a little bit of a red day here. All-time high is right there. We're very close to all-time highs. So the overall market is very strong, relatively speaking. But we'll see how it continues to move through the rest of August. But in total, we're only up a little bit in August because we started the month of August by dropping and then rallying. But the intra-month volatility is really intense. So, I'm going to stick by the fact that, look, I'm up $13,000. This is a fantastic green day. And the market right now is clearly pretty hot. Yes, today was a little colder, but in total, I keep seeing nice green days. 10,000, 15,000, 30 grand yesterday, 24,000 last Monday. So my P&L in the last 30 days, sitting right here at over 300,000. Last 90 days, 450,000. So, these last couple months, July and August, no doubt have changed the trajectory of my year big time. That's 330,000, 350,000, including today, approximately 340,000, whatever, in 2 months. So, January was a little slow. February was great. And then March was the worst month so far. And April, May, June were, decent months at 45,000, 47,000, 35. But then all of a sudden, July out of nowhere. And it all began really with costs and the meme stocks. That's what started on July 3rd before the holiday. And then after that, we had Zap, and then we had SNGX, and it was like back-to-back big momentum stocks. And now it just feels like the market is on fire, and momentum traders are just waiting for that stock to jump into. So if I look at my year-to-date right now, accuracy year-to-date 65%, average winners 600, average losers 480. Okay, but if we look at just the last, let's see, last month, and we'll actually go through like, this is not. So we'll go from here to here. Yeah, that's fine. Apply. So if we just look at the last month, accuracy a little higher, 66%. Profit loss ratio, pretty good, 577, $300 average losers. Those average losers being so small, the biggest winner versus the biggest loser. I mean, that's what you really like to see. So, average daily gain right now, close to $10,000. That's super solid. So, day and time, I'm trading early. I'm mostly done most days by 10. I'm getting some trades in the afternoon periodically, but mostly done by 10 a.m. Doing the best at the beginning of the week, being aggressive at the beginning of the week, being a little more cautious as the week goes on, trading stocks between 2 and 10 actually right now. Haven't had a lot of 10 to 20 this month, these last month, couple months. Based on instrument, AZTR, biggest winner, GNLN, second biggest winner, BBLG, biggest loser. Doing best on higher volume stocks, doing best when the stock has 5 times relative volume, doing best when the stock is up at least 10%, doing best when the stock is gapping up. So it's like all of this ties in with the process. So what I said earlier to members when I was teaching class is focus on the profits. Sorry. Focus on the process. The profits are a byproduct of your process. A lot of traders get fixated on trading the P&L. And so I would encourage you, just a little tip, take a sticky note and just pop it right over your P&L. So you can put it right on your monitor, wherever the P&L is. You still want to know what your average cost is, right? You want to know where you're in the stock at. You want to know how much you're up or down on a position. But once you sell it, let your closed P&L be hidden. And don't look at it to the end of the day. Just focus on trading what's right in front of you. Because here's the thing a lot of us do. We'll be up, let's say, as I was yesterday, 21,000. And then I lose 2,000 on my first loss off the top and then 2,000 on the second. So I go from up 21,000 up 17,000. And I'm sitting here thinking, I was just up 21,000 and now I'm sitting up 17,000. And I can't help but feel like a little annoyed. I'd really like to get back to this number right here. And now I'm getting fixated on that number. So now as I'm trading, I'm being a little more aggressive, try to get back to that number. And then I hit a new high water mark of, 27. And then I drop back down to 24. And now I'm trying to get back to 27. And so to avoid having this at all, you just put that little sticky note, whatever, over your P&L and stop looking at it while you're trading. And then as a reward, when you're done trading, you lift the P&L and you see how you did. And a lot of times you will be impressed. You'll be like, wow, that is awesome. And now the context isn't like it's good, but I was here. It's just that's nice. So I really encourage you just to test that out. Of course, as always, you should be practicing in a simulator before you put real money on the line. But it's a technique that can help bring the emotions down. So right now the market's hot. I'm going to continue being aggressive, but I really have to stay very disciplined about cutting losses quickly and only trading stocks on the front side of the move that are obvious. Tomorrow morning, I'll be following the same process as always, and the byproduct, hopefully, will be another green day. So, hey, if you haven't already tried out a 2-week trial, there's a link pinned at the top of the comments and linked in the description so you can check that out. And I want to remind you, as always, my results aren't typical. I've been doing this for a long time. So please, manage your risk, take it slow, and always practice in a simulator before you put real money on the line. I'll see you bright and early. I'll be streaming tomorrow morning for Warrior Pro members. Okay, see you then.